Good morning to you all.
Oh, now we're ready. Here we go. Good morning. With the help of Hashem, you're learning Yerushalmi Kalayim. We are finishing today the first chapter, starting the second. So we are beginning Perek Aleph, Halacha Tes, and God willing, we're going to go into Perek Beis, Halacha Aleph. In the Dafim, we are up to Daf Tes Amud Aleph, towards the end of the second top line. If you remember in the last year, we already pointed out that the words Vekashia, we learned the Pnei Moshe, goes on the previous question. There's another way of learning, which will be the Marafulda. We're going to follow today the Marafulda, that Vekashia will be the beginning of today's year. But before we get there, let's review. And if you missed the last year, it's okay. Let's go from the first hand and learn the machloikis between Rabbi Yochanan and Eish Lakish. And the case that we are learning about is that there is a person that took two diverse seeds from different species, and he threw them. His intent was for them to land in a place, in a way where that would halachically be kalayim, right? And imagine just there, someone told me, you can't do that. If you're going to do that, you're going to get malchus. What happened, as one of the various examples, is that there was a fence in that area. One seed fell on one side of the fence. The other seed fell on the other side of the fence. Unlike Kilei HaKedem, that has to have a certain distance. We learned about the 6 Tvachim, right? We learned about the various distances. By Kilei Zeroyim, the Iked problem is the Maras Ayin. And therefore, when you have diverse plants on different sides of a fence, L'chatchila, it's okay. In other words, it fell in a way that it is okay. So let's get to the words. The words that I'm saying are not words in the Gemara. These are words that we read in the Rash Shadilio, but these are words that we would have in Talmud Bavli. All right, Rabbi Yochanan, these are the words, says that by Kalayim, Basar Nifilason La'aretz Ozlinon, and therefore the person is pater because it fell on the ground ba'oifen hamutet, and Reish Lakish holds l'chumra Basar Yitziyason Mitachas Yodoi Ozlinon. His intent was, the location was a place that's Royal Lizriya. His intent was for them to land together ba'oifen ha'asu. When it left his hand, that is what would have happened. Turned out that it didn't turn out that way. That's where the Gemara says that's unlike Hilcha Shabbos, that Ukula Alma, you have to have an Akira and a Hanacha. Prior to the Hanacha, there isn't a biblical violation. The Gemara made that point. Here by Kalayim, we had a machlekes between Rabbi Yochanan and Eish Lakish. We just left off pointing out how we're going to have a difficulty with Rabbi Yochanan when it comes to our Mishnah. And why is that? Let's quickly review another very important thing we learned in the last year. It's like mamish, mountains in half words over here. In the Mishnah, there was a explicit machlokes. The second part of the Mishnah was speaking about what we learned on Daf Zayin. Halacha Tes, the last Mishnah of the Spedic. Let's call him the Tanakama. The Tanakama says that Hazurei Achitam So'ira Ka'achas, you're chayiv. Rabbi Yehuda says, Einoi Kilayim Achiyu, 2 chitim and 1 so'ira, 2 so'irim and 1 chita, chita so'ir and kusman. The point of the explicit machlekes, which we will b'chlal not focus on, is that since the Torah says Sotcha l'sizra kalayim, right? We learned that in the Marafulda and the Mishnah. So Rabbi Yehuda understands Sotcha doesn't mean a barren field. Sotcha means a field that's already planted, at least with one seed. In other words, there has to be one seed there prior to the person violating kalayim by putting 2 seeds of different species. Only putting 2 seeds in a land that's completely barren, we're speaking about a field. According to Rabbi Yehuda, you didn't violate kalayim biblically. That is what the Mishnah says. We also learned in the last year that the way Rabbi Yehuda words his argument with the Tanakama, that he begins by saying, Einoi kalayim achayu, he is really arguing with another point that's implicit. What we had until now was, even though there was a kasha with it, is that according to the Chachamim, if they landed, don't forget, according to Rabbi Yochanan, we say, Basar nifilasan ba'aretz. If they landed within 6 tvachim, that was the shir le Rabbi Yochanan, the chayev malchus. Rabbi Yehuda holds that no, that biblically the shir is a tefach. If it goes beyond the tefach, einoi kalayim. In other words, aside of the machlokes explicit that there has to be already something else planted, we're not even going to touch that. There's also another machlokes between the Tanakh and Rabbi Yehuda. Problem we had with at the end was, just to see the end of the last year, is that there was a braisa that the word, the Rabbi Yehuda, that it's mutter, and this that we mentioned, true, the Rabbi Yechanan within 6 tefachim, it's biblically problematic. Let Rabbi Yehuda, it's 1 tefach, biblically problematic. But even according to Rabbi Yehuda, midrabanan, within 6 tefachim, it should be us. When is it even mutter lachatchila beyond beis roiva? So the wordings in the Braisa, that was the Vakasha. So we're working it out, but it didn't work all the way at the end. Now we're going to pick up by saying, okay, let's now leave it.
What happened?
What was that?
20 minutes trying to get this door open.
I think Ito is having a simchas Torah over there. Okay, and now we're going to go to Rash Lakish. Rash Lakish holds basad yitziyasin mitachas yadu yosninan. We're going to have a back and forth now with Rash Lakish's understanding of the implicit machlokes between the Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda. What we will also introduce today will be a topic that we will have on Daf Yud Zayin, a new topic which is fascinating, all predicated on the Yisoid, that by Kilei Zeroyim, the Iker Isur, Midoy Raisa is only Marasayin, that if you have 2 types of seeds, Simcha, but they are planted in formations, that's called a Roish Toir. We're going to give Kevan enough time to find the Rosh Torah that we have on Daf Yud and to put it up on the screen. And let me just make a demonstration. A Rosh Torah would mean is that you planted a field like this, of Chitim. If you were to plant a field of Soidim like that, that's the violation. One near the other, all the way touching each other, right, David? Rosh Torah means that the word Torah is a triangular. It's a scriptural word that's used for an ornament that's in the shape of a triangular. Rosh Torah means like this. Rosh Torah means is that the entire setting of the So'idim is perpendicular. It's different. That's not the right picture. Find me another picture. Anyway, so we're gonna introduce that din of Rosh Torah. We will see how that's relevant over here, and we're gonna begin today the new Perek, like we mentioned, God willing. No. You have to go to Daf Yud Zayin, Keva, and then already leave it up. Go to Daf Yud Zayin, and in the 2nd chapter in the Halacha Aleph, we're gonna learn the following. Guys, we never spoke about this. It's exciting. Before you plant, if you on purpose mixed a minority species into a majority species, that means you put asoira in achita. I don't care what amount. If you did it on purpose, you're not allowed to seed it. You're not allowed to plant it. Kilei zeroim. The Mishnah will be speaking about a scenario where another type of seeds got mixed unintentionally. And therefore, there is a certain shiur upon which we say that the minority is so little vis-a-vis the majority, it's bottled, and you don't even have to remove it. That will be the premise of the beginning of the new chapter. And having said that, there's going to be various cases and various opinions of Tanoim, and it's going to be Mamish Gavaldik. We'll leave that for Daf Tes Amud Beis. We are beginning on Daf Tes Amud Aleph. I don't see Kevan any pictures, but that's just me. But okay, I think I made with my phone and my zettel enough of a demonstration of a Rosh Torah, which will be very helpful, really helpful to understanding the Gemara. So let's go now that the word Vakashya, which could have been Akasha, that was left unanswered on Rabbi Yechanan's application rule in the implicit machlokes Tanakam and Rabbi Yehuda, and now the Gemara says I also have Akasha because Vakashya, my time in the Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. First of all, we said Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish holds that Beklayim Basar Yitziyasan Mitachas Yodoi Ozlina. Right? That's very important. That's the chumrah that we mentioned. So if a person is throwing 2 seeds, the Tanakama 2 seeds is enough. Even if they ended up falling one on each side of the fence, if the person did it b'kavana that they should land together, he threw it on an earth that's tillable. He was warned by Hasra, you're doing that, you're either Sotchol or Sizrak, he'll get Malchus. even though it never happened, because Bikalayim Batsa, wow, where does he get that from? Says the Gemara, the Kivin Shoitzi Mitoich Yodai, Lizera Chayev, that's the Shita of Rabbi Yochanan, for Hataninon, but here we'll have a problem, that Rabbi Yehuda Omer, going back to our Mishnah, Einoi Kilayim, Einoi Kilayim. And again, like we mentioned, that even though they fell beyond the tefach, let's go back to the shiur we learned in the Rabbi Yechanan. Again, the Eino Kilayim, guys, has two parts. Number one, Rabbi Yehuda says, Eino Kilayim actually yield 3 seeds. But then there is the implied argument. Rabbi Yechanan held it has to fall within 6 tefachim. The Tanakama holds. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, within 6 tefachim, it's not a problem. If it falls within 6 tefachim, but if it's beyond 1 tefach, Rabbi Yechanan says, Eino Kilayim. That whole machloikus makes more sense if we care, basan nefilasan. So where did they fall? So they fell within 6 tefachim. The Tanakama says, boom, chayiv doiraisa. Rabbi Yehuda says, you're not chayiv because it was beyond 1 tefach. But according to Reish Lakish, that it's not about where it falls. It's about it left your hand together. Who even cares where it fell? So there's a gavaldik chiddush. It's a bomb question. This, in other words, how can a shwakish say this concept that by kalayim it's basar yitziyasan mitachas yodoi oslinon? If we have a implicit machloiches between the Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda, the Tanakama says when you threw it, you're chayiv. Rabbi Yehuda is saying no. If it fell, let's say beyond 1 tefach, you're not chayiv. Why would I shwakish care if it fell beyond 1 tefach? Or within 1 tefach, within 6 tefachim, who cares? It's not about where it falls. It's about if you threw it, the kavanah that it should land together, it doesn't matter where it fell. The whole implicit machlokes is it fell beyond 1 tefach, within 6 tefachim, Rabbi Yechanan, it makes sense. It's about where it fell. So there's a machlokes about the shiurim. According to Rabbi Yehuda, according to Reish Lakish, what is Rabbi Yehuda holding? And the Gemara's novelty is, this is Gavaldi. You know what? Must be that this is Reish Lakish. The machloikes, the implied machloikes between the Tanakama and Rabbi Yehuda. Whether we say basar nifilasan ba'aretz, whether we say basar yitziyasin mitachas yadim.
When he left his hand or when he rested?
In other words, the reason the Tanakama holds, the Tanakama is going to hold that basar yitziyasin mitachas yadai, it's hafuch al hafuch. Basar yitziyasin mitachas yadai. So forget about the 6 tefachim and the 1 tefach. The Tanakama holds that when you throw 2 seeds, what does the Tanakama say? You're chayiv. You know why you're chayiv? Because it left your hand together. Rabbi Yehuda holds. Rabbi Yehuda will be the one that holds, like Rabbi Yechanan. It means even a shwakish will be made. Rabbi Yehuda, he doesn't go according to Rabbi Yehuda. That what basa nifilasan lo aretz lina. That's the whole point. And since they fell on the ground, let's say beyond 1 tefach, so therefore you're good. It must be that according to Rabbi Yehuda, if he's implying that since they fell without a certain space, your potter, it has to do with where it fell. The chiyuv is nifilasan lo aretz, not yitziyasim mitachas yadi. That's what he's saying. That Rabbi Yehuda must hold like Rabbi Yechanan, that there atsha tanua. Still, the same kasha we had at the end of last year we have right now, which is we learned in a brayso that we quoted on top of this Amid, Rabbi Yehuda's mater. And loy afilu nacha Rabbi Yehuda mater. Is it not mashma that Rabbi Yehuda, even if you're going to tell me that Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rabbi Yechanan basin if you lost in the aretz, but why would it be completely mutter? Why would it be completely mutter? It should not be completely mutter. It's certainly not midrabanan. Now, guys, don't forget, there is one issue over here that if you're halting cup, that there is an explicit machlokes. What's the explicit machlokes? Rabbi Yehuda holds that if you don't have 3 seeds, you're not chayiv. That's why this kasha is difficult to understand. The Gemara is mamish ignoring the explicit machlokes. The Gemara needs to understand that there are mamish two arguments, Tanakam and Rabbi Yehuda. And the first implied argument, I get it, L'reish Lakish, Muzman Zagin, that the machlokes Tanakam and Rabbi Yehuda is this machlokes of Basar Yitziyasan, Basar Nifilasan. Tanakama holds that it's Basar Yitziyasan. That's why you chayv. Rabbi Yehuda will hold it's Basar Nifilasan. Nevertheless, it's difficult to say that you're mutter legamri if it de facto fell on the ground within 6 tvachim. So Amar Rab Hila. So to answer,
sorry. What if you change your mind right after it left your hand?
if you follow that it's about when it left your hand, it makes absolutely no difference.
No difference, right?
To the point that even de facto, that was the beginning. We learned this on Daf Ches, right? If it fell on the ground on 2 different sides of a fence, can you imagine to say that you're chayiv? Not like Shabbos. It's not about where it fell.
Right.
It's about the appearance that I'm planting things together. So now to answer how Rabbi Yehuda can be matter in the implied machlokes, we're going to go back to Daf Yud Zayin. Whoever has an art scroll should go to Daf Yud Zayin. Push it to see the picture of Rosh Toiv. Now let me say like this. There is another machlokes between Rabbi Yechanan and Reish Lakish. How great is that? Rabbi Yechanan holds that the heter, first of all, look at the Rosh Toiv. Rosh Toiv means you have 2 different species, but instead of planting them side by side, you're planting them in a way where one, the tip of the triangular, if you take a box and you turn it to the side, there'll be a triangular. That's the picture. You see species 2s on the whoever has the zoom. If species 2 goes into species 1, even if it's mamish adjacent, mutter. No one argues with that. But now we have a machlokes between Rabbi Yechanan and Reish Lakish. Rabbi Yechanan holds that the heter of Rosh Toiv, the word Toiv again, Simcha means a triangular article of jewelry. Rosh of the Toiv goes into the other one. That heter is only if it was lechatchila planted so initially. That's okay. You lechatchila planted it that way. It never gave the appearance that you're planting 2 things together. It's 2 separate plantations. Reish Lakish holds b'shem Chizkiah, which is what Rabbi Hila is going to bring it over here, that even if it was planted against the law. Now listen to the irony by Kalayim. I know we learned it, but we'll repeat it and we'll repeat it again. Mitzad echad, we keep on saying, unlike Kilei Akarim, by Kilei Zeroyim, the product is mutter. So if you have now a new species, even by harkavas ilonois, you have now a tangerine, you can replant it. But that tree itself, the one in which you inserted the branch, that has to be uprooted. Then you can take those branches and replant it. You can take that seed and replant it. But the sin has to be uprooted. Same thing by Kilei Zeroim. That if you planted it ba'ofen ha'asur, even though the new product could be replanted, but that which happened has to be uprooted. Remember that. So that Reish Lakish holds that even if someone planted 2 fields, not Rosh Toiv, side by side. So what's the din now? You have to uproot it. How did they uproot it? Chachamim from Chelim, not to uproot it. They uprooted it by now leaving the Rosh Toiv. That's also mutter according to Reish Lakish.
Is there an imaginary fence between species 2 and 1?
No.
Got it.
No. The fence that we spoke about in the last year, if you remember, is if a person is planting seeds, not in a field, but like in a backyard in a small area, then in order for you to be chayv kalayim, midoirais, it has to be in a fenced-off area, inside the fenced-off area. If you're planting barley in a wheat field, the wheat field itself, that plantation is like the fence. So even if I plant 1 seed in there, l'kula alma, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, because I have many wheats, and now I'm putting in a barley, I violated Kilei Zeroim, and that has to be uprooted. But again, remember, in this topic of Rosh Toiv, you have this machlokes. Rabbi Yechanan holds, he's more machmer. Only if lechatchila you planted it that way, you're good. According to Reish Lakish, even if you planted it ba'ofen ha'asur, and therefore you did the uprooting, but instead of uprooting it at all, it's like a haircut, the mohawks. You left the Rosh Toiv. It's good. Amar Apila, that Rab Shimon ben Lakish, in understanding even the Baraisa's version of Rabbi Yehuda, that it's mutar legamri, aside of him holding that Rabbi Yehuda will hold that basar nifilasan la'aretz azlinan, aside of that, but even when it lands on the ground, he holds that Rosh Toir haba michurba is mutar. Wow. And therefore, guys, when you plant two seeds together, even though you did it be'isur, think about it. What does a shlakish hold? Even if you did something prohibited, if now it looks like a rosh toir, what's the din? Mutter. So he says a bomb thing. You're gonna hear is gonna stand. When you plant two seeds together, you know how you could view it? There's only two seeds. Why would it ever be yasser? Why are you viewing the seeds as if they're planted side by side? View one seed as the tip of the toir, like this. The other seed at the tip of the toir. Shalom Yisrael. According to Rabbi Yechanan, you can never say such a thing, because according to Rabbi Yechanan, only if you planted Rosh Toir mamish, like the picture Kevin is showing, is good. When you plant two things together, you know that there's no Rosh Toir here. But since Rabbi Hila is quoting that Chizkiah said that that even when you plant something but now that you can see the Rosh Toir in it, now it's okay. So therefore, two seeds are going to be mutter, because we say they always resemble a Rosh Toir. Wowee. Now we got a problem. You know what the problem is? What did Rabbi Yehuda say explicitly? When are you chayv and chalayim when you plant how many seeds? 3. Why? Why don't we say the 3 seeds? You know how many Rosh Toirs you can have in one area? 4. It's like a cake, you understand? If you can take the picture and have coffee and just expand your brain, you have to. In other words, a Rosh Toir means it's a triangular. So if you're saying that 2 seeds should not be viewed side by side, they should be viewed, different angles. So you can have 3 seeds and say that every seed is the tip of the spear of another Rosh Toir, even if they're touching. Wow, because it's all about marasai. So Daf Pesam Beis asks the Gemara, "Mei ata oy bazoi afilu shnei chitim u'soira." If you have an art school, look in the bottom, you'll see the picture. No, so why don't we say that each one is a Rosh Toir?
They're not pictures, should they not be touching?
That can be touching.
All right, basically, you can say everything is a Rosh Toir.
No, because at some point you can. If you have a mixture of many, it has to fit. In other words, Kevan, you have to be able to give continuity to the 3 seeds, each one of its type in that unique angle, or in the angle of your making. According to B'Shem Chizkiah, you can make a new angle, and it's mutter. So why would 3 be awesome? And the Gemara is going to say a big thing, that according to Rabbi Yehuda, 3 is only awesome if all 3 seeds are within 2 walls in which you can't go out in those directions. If it's in an open area, you can plant 3 seeds according to Rabbi Yehuda lechatchila.
Is the important part that in between these triangles that you have, there's an empty space between the 2 of them?
Let me make again a triangular just to get over here.
Yeah.
Okay, do you guys see this? This.
No, in this case, you have a triangle and a triangle.
Doesn't matter. It can be like this. It can be like this. It can be like this. The point is not like this. Not like this. That's what we care.
But you have an empty space in between. Right there. That
Yeah.
empty space right there.
It has to be able. Now, if you have only 1 seed, why don't we say that the 1 seed of chita is the tip of this?
Right.
The 1 seed of so'id is the tip of this.
Right. So you have empty.
Yeah. But I'm saying, David, you can put another one. You can put a 3rd one.
Right.
Look inside the picture.
Yeah, but even in this picture, you would have one going this way, one going that way, one going that way. You'd have an empty space in between each of them, no?
The 3 can be touching each other.
Okay. So
Answers the Gemara. 1 second. And v'chein he. 1 second. Miyata afilu shechid so'ira. It should be permitted. So the Gemara says you're right. Who says you're wrong? Look at it. V'chein he. Yeah. This is only according to Rabbi Shlakish B'Shem Chizkiah, because you're not the guy that's throwing 3 seeds. Let's be honest; he's not planning to make 3 Rosh Toirs. Very important. But since that version holds that we extend the heter of Rosh Toir. So let say everything is a Rosh Toir. And if you can't, uproot until when you could. That's basically what they're saying b'Shem Chizkiah.
Can't you just make the Rosh Tours smaller and smaller and have more and more? I mean, look at the picture on the size.
What you're saying and what David is saying, you're thinking in the same way, which is good. In other words, let's not play this whole thing out. It's exactly how much does it have to be, but the point is, for sure, by 3 seeds, you can still make enough, each one, a Rosh Toir, for it to be muted. How can you say v'cheini? Look at our Mishnah. Our Mishnah, Daf Zayin says, or chita achas shnei so'irim. We're forgetting the explicit machlokes. Rabbi Yehuda is saying if you plant 3 seeds, it's also. Answers the Gemara Pasala, we must interpret chita mikan, v'goden mikan, uso'ir chavusha be'emsa. So you have 3 seeds, guys. These are the 3 seeds, and you have a wall on each side. So you can't go off in all these directions. So when someone looks at those 3 seeds falling, boom, bam. Now, another detail.
Are this close to each other?
Yes.
Without any space in between.
At some point, there'll be space in between.
Because there are different angles that will eventually.
Actually, yes, we're going to learn about that explicitly later. But just that I know from the Rambam it's going to be mutter, because each one, the furrows are in a different direction. When you plant something, they're planted beseder. It's not hefkevel. It's not simchas Torah. It's back seder. There's rows. So you can the main thing is when you look at it, you see, oh, it's different. And when you put 3, you can begin new. You can't because there's walls boxing it in, and that is the only case of our Mishnah. And Omar Rav Matanya, Hadad Teimar She'ein Sham Churban, Avalam Yesham Churban Muter. Wowie. Yeah. In other words, he's saying clearly that when do we say in our Mishnah, with the case of our Mishnah is God, but if you don't have that, if you're planting in a churba means in an open area where there are no fences. Churba means if there's an unplanted area, if it's not boxed in, then indeed, according to the Shlakish b'Shem Chizkiah, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's going to be completely mutar. I want to welcome all the newcomers. First of all, we're going to come back to you, Chitim. We're not excited. We're leaving. We're very sad, and we're making achlata. One day, we're going to come back to Hachitim, and we are starting now a new chapter, and this is perfect timing for the people that are joining us over here to come along. We are in the Art Scroll and in the Oiz V'Hadar, whose pagination they're following. We are in Daf Tes Amud Beis. We are starting now the 2nd chapter. Quickly again introducing that there are different types of mixtures that are prohibited biblically, including planting seeds of different species together. Okay, even though when it comes to the grapevine, that with others is much more prohibited on many levels, as we spoke out in our introduction. We're not yet getting to the laws of Kilei HaKerem. The 2nd chapter is still dealing again with Kilei Zerayim. Interestingly, if you did make such a mixture, going forward, the product itself could be consumed. The product itself could be replanted. How many fruits and vegetables do we have that are more coven? The reason why someone bought me up a $300 or $400 or $800 esrog was because they claim that esrog is not murkav. I mean, that's what they claim, which means all the other esrogim, the ones that you guys paid for $50, they're not esrog. There's an esrog and a lemon. That's what everyone sells it, that his are perfect, but yours. So, in other words, murkav is something that we can have benefit from. You can't fulfill the mitzvah of the esrog. But otherwise, you can have hano, you can eat it. Okay. Now, our chapter's beginning speaking about the following. If I have, let's say I'm planting wheat, a wheat field, just a mush, and I, for whatever reason, purposefully put in the wheat a little bit of barley, because I'm a botanist, I'm a big maven, I didn't yet know the din of God, but I think that this will do that, and it's going to be good, for whatever reason. Doesn't matter how little of barley went in there, even though we have throughout halacha the din of bittul, right? Bittul beroiv, bittul b'shishin, bittul b'meya, bittul b'mosayim. You have in money here. If I put in that, I got to go fishing for it and get it out. Remember that, even though that's not written in our Mishnah, but if you don't remember this, we're going to get tripped up later. Our Mishnah is dafka speaking about the scenario where no one purposefully put another type of seed in the majority seed that you're planning to plant. So prior to the seeding, there's already a mixture, but the mixture happened unintentionally. There is a point in which we say that the minimum amount is so little, it's batul, and you can leave it in there. That will be the topic of the Mishnah, says the Holy Mishnah. And here is the shir. Kol sa'a, a sa'a is a quantity, and we're speaking, it's a measured quantity. We're not speaking about a base sa'a, which would refer to a size of land in which you plant a sa'a. We're not looking at the land yet. We're looking at the seed itself. Okay, so if you have the quantity of a saw of seeds, even if sheyeshba roiba zera mimin achar, roiba means a quarter. Whenever we speak about a quarter, just like when it comes to making kiddush, right? Whenever we say the words revi'i, quarter, it means a quarter of a loig, right? We go according to the shiurim of Rabbi Avram Chaim. No, let's say it's around 3 ounces. Whenever we're speaking about a saw, and the Mishnah uses the words a quarter, it means a quarter of a kav. If you have that ratio, in other words, the minority takes up an entire quarter of a kav. How much is that? A quarter of a kav is 1/24 of a saw, which means you have 23 of wheat, 23 of 24 portions, and 1 roiva of barley. Only now you got a problem. No, if it would have been less than that, you can mamish lechatchila leave it in. What's the percent? Who knows math? Where's Rabbi Chaim? What's 1/24? My father's shouting in Gan Eden. I mean, he's upset, but I don't have his brain. I don't know. This point, that. You can go use your calculator. I would say for the people that didn't go to yeshiva, you need your calculator. He in yeshiva learned exactly how.
0.0416.
That's it. Of course. And there's another digit that you missed, the one afterwards.
There's 4 sixes.
There's 4 sixes afterwards. Okay. So a quarter, that's it. So 1/24, guys, means again, not 24 and 1. It's important. 23 plus 1. You got it, Simcha, that ratio. Then you have to go fishing to reduce the smaller amount.
Is that
now,
a minute?
one second.
Sorry.
What it's reducing means, very important, guys. The Tanakama holds Kevan, even though you're chayiv to deal with it, we don't say it's like a cancer. Now that we're dealing with it, get rid of all of it. We don't say that. Bring it down to less than this 0 point. Bring it down to less than that ratio. You know how you bring it down? By the way, there are 2 ways. The harder way, the chelam way, is to go find those little seeds. The easier way will be is add a few seeds of chitin. In other words, normally we say aim avatlin is a lechatchila. It's very different rules over here. The different shiurim for bittul, the whole idea that if it was done on purpose, it's never batul. They're all different rules. That's what's fascinating. Yamait means not get rid of it. Minimize that ratio. You can add 1 seed.
Is that a matter of minimum?
No. Amazing, huh? Okay. And he's bringing down on the bottom over here many that hold that midoi raisa, it should taka be batal b'roiv. Not it is batal b'roiv. The shiurim is midrabanan. Just to make that clear. Okay, now
How did they come up with 1/24? Where did they get this?
Mistama, I would say that's the impression. It's a marasayin. I'm almost sure about this. In other words, if you have that ratio or more, let's word it that way. Everything is marasayin. Then it gives the impression that you want the mixture. If it's less than that, No, if you would have wanted the mixture, you would have gotten at least to that ratio. It has to do with Amara. The whole thing is Amara side.
That's what I was saying. It's a minimum for Maratain,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's okay.
Now hold on. Rabbi Yossi holds, that's the big machlok. Rabbi Yossi holds that now that it exceeded the limit, Yavoir, gotta get rid of all of it. You gotta get rid of all of it. Look inside. Let's look inside the Manaf folder. You might write the second line into the new Pedic. Oisamin achar hamu'urav boy achi yifchas mirayvakav. All you need to do is to make the ratio smaller, and then v'yis battle, it will become bittul. We know the dinam of bittul throughout the halach. And then umutal Israel, ve'eno asa mishum kalayim. Rabbi Yossi says, Rabbi Yossi also agrees that if it never hit that ratio, you don't have a problem because it got mixed unintentionally. But once you have the 23 parts of chitin, just as an example, and the one part of seoidim, one of 23 a roiva in a saw, then yavoid, make fallow, get rid of all of it. Yavoid the kiven shuhuska klamayit. Now that you're chayiv to diminish it, once you got that, yaser hakoil.
What's the difference between
Well,
Yavara and Yimayat?
I just explained. Yemait means you don't have to get rid of all of it. You just have to bring the ratio down. Rabbi Yossi argues. Now, I want to make it clear, David, that even according to Rabbi Yossi, if lechatchila you had a smaller amount of percent, you don't have to do anything. Rabbi Yossi is not saying it's not bottle. He's saying once it hit the ratio, that's problematic. Now that you got to deal with it, now you got to deal with it. Mishum de mechze.
And the way to deal with it is to remove every single seed?
Every single seed, Danny.
That's crazy.
You know these machines that Moisés use with all these tzedakahs that they today I have a secret what I do. You know, you put it in the machine and it separates the quarters from the nickels, from the dimes. You ever saw them? They're very helpful. What we do right now is that we put a very big number to the bank, a huge number, and then the bank makes the correction. Takes a lot quicker. But it's a good eight cent. Someone gave me that 8 cent, it always works. I mean, but go you should bank on it. The kiven shehizcha livroi. For that mamash arrested. Imla yivra hakoil. In other words, this is important. No, even according to Rabbi Yossi, there is a bittul. The problem is only once it hit the substantial minority. Now you got to get rid of it. So that's number one. Now another machlokes in the Mishnah. It's fascinating. This roiva hakav, this roiva that is problematic, does it need to be comprised of one type, or could it be comprised of two types? Let's read inside the Mishnah. Tanakama holds bein mimin echad, bein mishni mina. I'm going to give a mashal, guys. Okay, you have shnei minim, which means you have 23 portions of one seed, and a half a roiva of barley, and a half a roiva of spelt. The Tanakama holds that's also a problem. You got it? No.
First one, bein mimin echad,
Bein min echad will be the case that I keep on giving, the sweet and barley.
Yeah.
All right. So if the barley hits the ratio of 1/24th, you got a problem. Huh? Mishnei minim would mean that this one roiva, what happens if half of it is barley and half of it is spelt? So you don't have a roiva of one type in the wheat. The Tanakama holds it doesn't make a difference.
So it's two types or three types? Yes.
Yeah, two types. Correct. But let's focus. However, Rab Shimon is lenient. That lo yamru elam min echad. When do we have a problem? No, it's when do we have a problem? That when you have a roiva of a kav of another seed, you have a mixture, even though it got mixed unintentionally, either yemait or yavoid. Tanakama Rabbi Yossi. That's only if it is of one kind. Look inside. Before the Chab. I'm sorry. Rav Shimon says, She'en shnei minim mitztaref l'ksheroiva. However, v'chachamim oimrim, kol shehu kilayim, basa'ah mitztaref l'roiva. I'll explain to you exactly how the Chachamim argue with the Tanna Kama. Before, the Chachamim agree with the Tanna Kama that different species combine to make a problem. Right? Unlike Rab Shimon. Rab Shimon is simple. Rab Shimon is lean. Two species don't combine. Where do you have a sheer problem? One is a ripe. So they agree in principle with the Tanna Kama that we make it sit if we make a combination. However, you have to have the following condition, and that is that what did we learn in the first Mishnah, guys? We learned in the first Mishnah, the second case. The second case of the first Mishnah of the first Pedic was So'edem and Shabbai L'Shul. Einom Kilayim Zebozeh. Do you remember that? Oh. So what happens over here? What happens if the majority is barley? And you have now spelt and oats together that make a roiva. Spelt and barley is kalayim. Barley and oats are not kalayim. According to the Tanna Kama, who doesn't say kol shu kalayim basam etztaris, he doesn't care. The Tanna Kama will hold that oats will combine with this belt, and it's going to make up the roiva.
Why wouldn't everybody hold that way? Meaning,
no, that doesn't make sense. The question is, how can the Chachamim say that? Danny, barley and oats are not.
If oats and barley halachically are considered like the same min,
that's right.
So then, for Kalayim, so why would you think that the oats are going to combine with the spelt?
Very good. You know, your question is on the Tanna Kama, not on the Chachamim. The Tanna Kama.
Not only that, I'm saying that to me, if I learned this, the Chachamim, they're explaining the Tanna Kama. That's what he means. I don't know.
No, you know that it's not pshat. Tanna Kama, Rab Shimon, Chachamim Maimru. Now let me go back to my Marasayim. The whole thing is a Marasayim. In other words, if you would only have barley, so'idim and shaboy l'shual, I get that. Barley and oats are not kalayim. But now that you also have over here barley and oats are not kalayim. Barley and spelt is kalayim. Now that you have spelt, I know it's not in the sheet of a roiva, but you have another type. It's a marasayim. There is a logic to say that the oats combine with the spelt, and an observer sees another type, b'shir roiva. There's a logic. It's all because of marasayim.
How many Rabbi Yosef the same?
No, b'chlal not. Rabbi Yosef, forget about Rabbi Yosef. We so far we had in the Mishnah two different arguments. Argument number one, David, is once you have the shear that's problematic, so you have to fully get rid of it or only you might it. Right. That's now we're learning something else. Does this roiva have to be of only one type? L'Rab Shimon, yeah. Both l'Tanna Kama and l'Chachamim, it could be, not always. The Chachamim hold that both of the two that you want to make into the roiva, neither of them are allowed to be planted with the main. If one of them is allowed to be planted with the main, then you don't have a roiva. The Tanna Kama holds, we combine them. Let's read inside the Maraf folder. The Chachamim, we'll stop over here. The second to last line in bottom of the Amud. That Ika bein Tanna Kama l'Chachamim. What's the argument? Keep going. What we spoke about. The saw of a siyah. And when we say a saw, by the way, we don't mean a full saw. We mean 23 parts of the saw, just to make that clear. Sheyesh baroiva knows what is the saw made out of. Ruba saw 23 of the 24. But one roiva is made out both shabai l'shul and kusman. And even though, like we said, so Oidim and Shabai L'Shul themselves is Einam Kalayim. So the Tanna Kama, they combine, Danny Claire. The oats combines with the spelt. Tzarech Lamayit. However, L'Chachamim, at least they're the lenient, Eina Tzarech Lamayit, She'eina Shabai L'Shul, Kalayim L'Shedim Shabasah. L'fikach Einam Etztarab Gam Ken L'Kusman, Le'chashev Roivam, U'Li'mayit HaKusman Masa, which will oblige you to do L'Mayit. Or we would oblige you, let Rabbi Yosef to do Yavoid. I know we are in the middle of the Mishnah. That's fine. We'll stop over here to be continued.